Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 74 on Sunday, the 27th of March, 2022. In this week's show, we'll be discussing a huge update on the next Witcher game, highlights from the Future Games Show Spring Showcase, and did Swinny finally play Elden Ring?
Shut up! Big Wig's on the radio! Shut up! It's Gaming Focus Audio!
As always, I'm joined by Swinny.
Hello.
And not Mike. He's abandoning us again.
Hello.
What's the Mike story this week, Swinny? Is
Mike,
he sick? Has he got COVID this time?
Mike is a very scattered man. He forgets things that he has in his schedule until sometimes the morning of or the night before. So he unfortunately cannot make the show this week.
So he doesn't watch the replays or anything like that. So what do you really think of him not rocking up?
What do I really think of Mike? Okay, Is this a 3-hour podcast?
Yeah, go on.
Let's
just give me one highlight.
Mike is a character. There we go. He's a character.
He is in the chat, so we say hi, Mike. Not that Swinny ever wanted to the chat.
What's the term? Mike is good value.
Mike is good value. Mike, if you do have, this is amazing, through the power of the Bigwig crew, we actually have the power to patch you in. So if you actually get on a laptop with a webcam, you can patch in for like 5 minutes and then we'll boot you off the show again because you're not prepared.
No, I think he's too busy dodging. Oh, what's the thing he was talking about? The Baruli ulcer down where he is. Apparently, it's like some horrible like ulcer that is like in Victoria that you get from mosquitoes. So he's freaking out down there. So yeah. And I made the mistake of googling the Baruli ulcer, and I recommend nobody else to ever do that.
I'm not going to do that. I find that whenever people go Google this term that I'm not familiar with, like blue harvest mushroom or whatever it is, I'm like, it just never ends well. So I've learned 20 years of experience on those things. No, I'll pass. And the hype. What's the hype this week, hype man?
Well, we've got hype for question mark.
Hype?
We're stuck in a time loop, a Chrono Trigger time loop of will it happen, won't it happen? Will it happen? We keep spinning back around, coming back 360. It's not happening this week because of the aforementioned absence of Mike. Because we'd like him here to discuss it, considering he was probably the least familiar with the game when it came to playing it for the first time.
I wasn't that familiar with it as well, but yeah, fair call.
Yeah, so but he's also was the least familiar with the SNES era in general. He was a PC gamer back in the 90s. So yeah, no Chrono Trigger once again this week. I think we're going to stop putting it like at the, right at the end of the show when we talk about what's coming up. When I haven't put Chrono Trigger in there this week because who knows? I don't want to promise anything.
What did you put down there? Oh, okay. Yeah. You've got some stuff there. Good.
I've got some stuff there.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Good. So we're trying to keep it to one special per week. And then 0 specials.
No specials this week. No specials this week.
I think we do need to have some kind of like on the shelf break glass in case of emergency special up our sleeves. We've been a bit lazy with that.
I do have some other hype.
I know. I'm excited about this. Go on. I can see the run sheet. I'm excited. I know what's coming up.
So I'm teasing what my next tier list will be.
Whoa, controversial tier lists.
I've done 2 tier lists. We've done 3 as a show. So the one we did as altogether was the E3 presentation last year tier list, which hopefully we can do again this year. Because I had fun with that.
That was fun, actually.
Yeah. I did the Assassin's Creed tier list, which is great and also worrying altogether. The amount of hysteria that caused by me placing Odyssey as number 1.
That was definitely our most controversial video. Along with our tag Hua watch video.
Yes. And our 2-hour Chemco RPG tier list, which is currently over a 1.2 5,000
I know.
views, which is kind of wild, which is awesome. I think we hit upon a good niche there. But my next tier
Well,
list,
before you move on, that I got to give a shout out to you because people really truly appreciate that tier list. Like people are taking the time to go, thank you, Swinny, thank you for doing this because now I can buy these 5 Chemco games and not these other ones. So look, I think Chemco should be sending you codes for these games.
that would be great. That would be great.
Save you some money as well.
It would save me a lot of money each month.
And
so-
you could be the first person to beat them. The other person who's going up against you is like, how the fuck is this person beating me each time?
That's true.
That'd be amazing.
I still haven't. I'm 2 games behind at the moment in the Chemco list. So that's how quickly things go. Like think about it. Since
is
RP
insane.
Golf, there's been 2 games that I haven't completed since RP
Far out,
Golf,
man.
and that is January. That was January. So
It's a machine.
but no, for my next tier list, I will be doing, or want to do, I can't take over the show. You guys have to vote on it. I actually want to do a Final Fantasy tier list, but I want to do a Final Fantasy battle system tier list because
I like that twist.
because the thing is that to me, like that's a very different tier list than what I would do as a normal Final Fantasy tier list. Because, for instance, my favorite Final Fantasy game is not necessarily the one I think has the best battle system. So, and when I say battle system, I'm kind of gonna bring in some elements of other systems in it, like maybe the experience system in a way of stuff. It's more
Job
like
system?
okay. Yeah, because that is an important part of how the battle systems play as well. So it's kind of almost like the systems tier list, but battle system makes sense.
Yeah.
So
That's
and
good,
look,
dude. That's a good little angle. That's a good. You
Yeah.
should be a writer on Kotaku.
yeah, no, thanks.
You know they would
But
publish
look,
that.
it's not a new
article.
idea. I mean, it's not a new idea. Lots of people have done those
Really?
kind of like focus. Yeah, there's been battle system tier lists and stuff.
For Final
but-
Fantasy. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, look, think how popular that
I know
series
it is, but that's insane.
Next, we've got to do the Chemco battle system tier list.
No, I want to do the Chemco intro tier list.
I think it'll probably end up being the same.
Sky.
Same as the normal tier
It'd be awesome to actually make the videos and it's just all the directions that they're going.
Yeah, so I don't know when that's going to be done. I'll probably post once we wrap up all the games from the other year, which there's 3 features kind of in the schedule for that. We've got Chrono Trigger, as we mentioned, Earthbound, and then we'll have the actual thing special where we decide what actually wins finally. So
Yeah, and looking at the timing, we might need to make that when the show is up to its like 2nd anniversary or something like that. I built out the schedule and I'm like, wow, okay, it's actually getting close.
Cool. And yeah, so also some shout outs. So we talked about WrestleQuest, a quest last week, and we had, Megcat Studios, the developers, kind of give us thanks in comments. So I just want to give them a shout out. And it made me kind of like it's happened. It's not new that we've had, people involved with the game comment on stuff we've done, but it does really make you sink in that some people will hear what you say. And it just makes me go, like, you listen back, you're like, oh, you put yourself in the position of someone who's working on it, and you think, oh, like, I think I mentioned in that segment that none of the previous games I worked on spoke out to me as potentially great games. And I'm like thinking, oh, that's awkward to listen back now. And you can't, look, you've got to be honest and open about what you do. But at the same time, in the past, I've never had to worry about ever, like, talking anything down potentially. But it's getting to the point where there are more people behind these games hearing what we're saying.
Yeah.
And it makes you. There's one way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. So it's. I think generally we're pretty good, but there's times when you're like, okay, maybe approach things in a bit more of a smarter way when you say things.
Yeah, look,
That's what
I don't think we're not nasty by nature, right? We're very blunt.
nasty point.
Nasty by nature. This is already the episode title.
So like the offshoot boy band version of Naughty by Nature.
Boys from the Hood. But we're not nasty by nature, but we're very blunt in our criticism. We're not like holding back on it. And it's true. I do not think. The thing is, people have to understand the context of this show and the podcast and the channel and everything. we don't want to be content creators. This is like an excuse to catch up as mates, right? So it's like if we don't, we won't talk to each other as often. Like, especially I'm in Sydney, you guys are in Melbourne. So I'll like just say whatever. And it's so true. Like people have like watched it, reached out, DM'd us, and I'm like, fuck, they've like listened to all this shit. And I'm like, oh God, I wish I could. Not that I have ever said anything that I'm like, well, we're saying it for a reason or not. We're just being extremely blunt about some stuff and genuinely not saying it as if the person who made it is going to watch the video where we're like, oh, that's shit. I don't remember what it was, but there was one thing where you were criticizing, you're like, fucking these devs and all this stuff, right?
I think it was Echo Generation.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'll reach out to them because I'm like, they might actually look at it, and you're like, you're backing pedaling so fast.
I was like, nah, probably not a good idea to do that. Probably not a good idea.
But it's interesting. People have actually reached out to us and say, oh, I just want to correct what you're saying here or blah, blah, blah. And we've done a few corrections where we've like, okay, we've got it wrong. But the thing is, this is never going to be our job. Like, I feel like even if it was like 1 million subscribers, which would never happen, this is never going to be my job. I never want to do this full time at all, like, or even part time, right? So I guess one good thing is like we're always going to be very honest here, even to the detriment of the show, like people who watch it. So, but it was cool. It's cool. It's cool when people reach out.
Yeah, and I mean, the more niche topics you cover, the more likely that's going to happen, of course. So,
for sure.
But I guess the only other thing I wanted to say is I had a question of the week this week.
Yeah, I saw this. You're getting into this segment. It's good.
Well, this ties into something. It's kind of related to the new Assassin's Creed DLC, which I haven't played this week. I've only played a little bit, but integot. What do you think about unwinnable boss battles in video games? Do you like the idea? Do you hate it when it happens?
So I saw this question and it was so weird. I was thinking about this before I saw the question, literally this morning, about Chrono Trigger. Because I was getting ready to talk about Chrono Trigger, and there's a few moments in Chrono Trigger where it's, not to spoil the game, but like unwinnable boss fights, like you're meant to die and things happen in the game. And I almost always hate that because I'm dumb when it comes to these things. So I'm like, oh, I've got to like figure out a way. I'm like losing or something. Oh, I got to quit and, respec my team or whatever. Right. And I don't realize the game's trying to do that to me. The only time I'm okay with it, because I actually hate it in every other circumstance, the only time I can accept it or even go, oh yeah, I like it or I get it from a design perspective is if it's at the start of the game. Like you're playing it at the start and you're just getting destroyed and you're like Super Metroid. Like there's so many games like that, right? Where you're just like, oh, I'm not meant to be able to beat this. Like Elden Ring does it, like Dark Souls to a degree, like stuff like that, you know what I mean? And some of those you can win, but they're not really meant to be a beginner's be able to win it. But I don't mind if it's like that. But outside of that, I hate it. But how about you? How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head because I am not a fan. So it happens a lot in RPGs,
yes,
specifically. And sometimes, every now and then, it will happen after a long sequence of cutscenes, especially in older RPGs where you can't actually skip those cutscenes. So it then comes up the boss. You struggle, you use all your good items, or at least a bunch of items, and then you realize it's unwinnable. You're like, I just wasted all those items for nothing. Now, if I want to reset, my save point may have been 25 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago before this long dialogue and everything. Now, I either have to weigh up, do I reload a save and regain all those items that I wasted, or do I just power on? So that is super frustrating to me. Again, if it's at the beginning of the game, I understand that from a narrative standpoint, that's a lot better. But the weird part is this kind of links into the Assassin's Creed thing where I actually hate more the opposite way where basically there's it's not really spoilers, it's right at the beginning of the new DLC, Dawn of Ragnarok for Assassin's Creed, where I absolutely obliterated the first boss. Absolutely destroyed him, didn't get hit, destroyed him, and then straight away in the cutscene afterwards, the boss is kicking your ass. I'm like, man, that is bullshit. I just beat the fuck out of this boss. Now the cutscene's acting as if he's beaten me. And it's like this massive disconnect where it's like...
But wait, are you meant to be able to beat her, or is it got low health and then...
No, you meant it. No. It's just like you beat it. You beat the boss, and then
Oh.
it's like, oh, suddenly the boss has like got you up in the corner and everything. It's
Oh, I
like,
get ya.
I just rinsed you, man. Like, what the hell? It's like, so that actually annoys me
just rinsed you,
more.
man.
That just annoys me more. Anyway, that's kind of like, I kind of use those to connect to those two with that question to talk
Yeah.
about why I guess the Assassin's Creed DLC kind of put me off a bit when I first started playing it, why I decided to play Elix for that week instead last week. So,
It's gonna be interesting to see if the Elix devs watch your review. See what
Yeah,
they think. You might get some
it's-
German death threats or
that does not sound right. I wish that could be an episode title, but it's not going to be.
German death threats. We normally don't have good episode titles when Mike's not on, but this week's a bit different.
German death threats.
All right, we'll jump into what we've been playing. So Mike, I've been in touch with him during the week because we're both playing Elden Ring, obviously. So he's like about 2/3 through the game. I'm actually surprised that he's progressed the story as much as he has. Like he's gone back to his normal pattern, which is like the Skyrim pattern of doing all the side quests, just doing random shit, not progressing the story. So it's been really weird because I've actually been going to him. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, where do I go next? And it's like, no one knows, like, of the crew. And I'm playing it kind of blind. So it's like, what the hell? So Mike's been playing that and I've been playing it as well. And I've beaten Elden Ring
Oh, nice.
by accident. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't know where I was going. I didn't, I've been playing it relatively blind, right? So I don't really know the areas I'm up to, what it means for the story and everything like that. So I'm like, fuck, I got to go back to this area. It's really hard. And I'm going to get through it because I don't know what else I'm meant to do, right? So I go back, get through this bit. And then, like, not spoiling anything, but like, it basically put me in a spot where I couldn't go backwards. Like, there was stuff I wanted to go back and do, but I knew I couldn't. I was like, shit, like, I've progressed the game too much. And then I was like, fuck it. All right, I'm going to what else can I do? I'm not going to like try to upload a cloud save or something like that and reverse it all out. So I was just like, all right, I'll just finish this game, hopefully. And fuck me, man. Like the bosses in this game are so awesome. We'll do a review after a couple of months if you ever played this game.
After a couple of months, I love that.
But yeah, we'll do a review. I definitely want to review. I know it won't be like relevant for anyone, but it's just for us to talk about it. But like the bosses in this game are so awesome. I love them. I actually really have not like disliked any, and there's quite a few in Dark Souls. I was like, this boss was like okay, but
I was thinking about that the other day where, because you haven't seen the progression of the Dark Souls unless you've gone and watched something, because the Dark Souls, from Dark Souls 1, and obviously got Demon Souls, but Dark Souls 1 through to 2, 3, Sekiro, Bloodborne and all that, like that's where obviously their whole design is well, I say improved. It's like, they've built upon stuff, whereas the bosses, like they've gone from 0 to 100 on the bosses since the first Dark Souls. So you've basically you've gone from that 0 and you're at 100 now. So it's kind of crazy for that.
So maybe like people look at it and go, actually, they're not as good as Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro. I don't know. I don't really hear people saying that, but I really enjoyed the bosses. And then I got to the last boss and like, I'm not going to spoil it, but I fucking hate this boss so much. Like, it's not like hard, but it is. In the sense that it's fucking boring. It's like unbelievable. It's super like flawed. Like I'm kind of shocked that they accepted that to be the last boss and how it was all structured and everything. I'm like, this is exactly the same as Breath of the Wild. The last bosses of both games sucked, but in a way, Breath of the Wild for me sucked less because it was just so easy and so straightforward and it was shit. But it's like, great, get out of my way. I finished the game. Fantastic, right? Like, I'm almost at that stage where I'm like, why didn't they just put an easy boss in at the end? Because it's like, it's not like a challenge in a way. It's just a challenge against boredom. And I'm like, am I the only one who's thinking this? And then I start reading people's comments about it and it's unreal. Like the amount of people shitting on the last boss. And I totally understand why. So
I have no idea. I know that some of the games in the series has had different, depending on what ending you go for, different bosses and things. So I know nothing about Elden Ring, but that is a surprise. I'm looking forward to seeing what that is eventually.
Yeah.
To then see kind of if I share that opinion or not.
Yeah, and you might not. You might not. Like, and like I said, it's not like it's super hard or anything, but it actually took me the most amount of time to beat because I was just getting frustrated. I was like, fuck, I'm over this. Like, it was honestly in Dark Souls and then this game, it was the only time I ever felt like the game was almost a little bit cheap. I was like, this is bullshit. This is like fucking NES bullshit where it's like, you know, how am I supposed to like, you know, I guess I could do this differently, but it's boring. So I'm like trying to accelerate the fight in a way. I'm just like, oh my God, like what a terrible ending for me personally, right? But overall, man, the fucking game was awesome. Like, I started playing New Game Plus because I was like,
Cool.
this is fucking cool. I'm gonna put it away, but yeah, like I'll definitely get back to it. Because I look at the platinum, I don't know, it's probably the same achievements as Xbox, but they're all very reasonable. It's not like, you know how some games have shitty ones where it's like kill 10,000 enemies. It's like when games do that, I forget about it. I'm not even going to look at it. Right? I don't even care.
Yeah, none of the Souls games have had anything like that. The worst they've really had is some that, unless you trade with other people, require 3 playthroughs. Like collect all the rings or build all the unique weapons and stuff. That just like, okay, you need more than one. You need the same boss soul twice. So unless you somehow get the weapon off somewhere else, you've got to beat the game boss twice in different playthroughs. But it's good to know that they've stuck with that kind of model of where it kind of rewards you for doing fun stuff as opposed to menial stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the one difference that I can see from, and it more so other people talking about the platinum, because these are people who chase that, like Dark Souls 3, all that kind of stuff, is this one was like, you kind of like, you veer the least off just natural play, if you know what I mean. Like, you know how some of the, I've looked at some of the other platinums, it's like, you know, power up all certain types of weapons or something like that. And it's like, that's kind of a bit grindy in a way, right? Whereas this is like pretty straightforward. Like when I look through it all, like looking at what people talk about the platinum, it's like very straightforward. And I don't know, I just really love the game. And it's sort of like just an excuse to go through all the elements. Like I've missed out on huge chunks of this game. It's crazy. Like literally stuff that's in the trailer, like I've missed out on. Like it's insane to me how big this game is. Like you just keep getting through it. And I'm like, man, I know there's even more to this game. It's fucking nuts. It's straight away, man, like top 10 game for me. It's like bumped Dark Souls out. Like from like that probably was in my top 10. Now it's out because I don't think I'd have multiple types of these games in there.
Blasphemy.
But the last boss, I'll just put it in context for me personally. I would rather fight Better Chaos than the last boss.
Wow. Actually, I was shocked. I beat Better Chaos first try when I did the one hit. No, sorry, the Soul Level 1 run.
No hit. Oh, like, look at your mind go.
No, that's, I did not mean to say that.
It's awesome.
The Soul Level 1 run. And I did it by the cheat method, where for anyone who doesn't know, Better Chaos has these two things at the sides where basically if you defeat one of them, it retains that progress. You defeat the other one, retains progress. So if you come back to the boss and fight it, you don't have to do the 2 side parts of it. But the problem is when you defeat one of them, it like starts to crumble to ground. The boss gets stronger each time. But what you can do is you defeat one part, quit the game, spawn back in before the boss, and that means you don't have to run out again. And so it makes it a lot less. It makes it so. But the thing is,
it's a bad boss.
Yeah, that boss is ridiculously annoying and cheap in its design. That's just the way you got to play it, man.
Yeah. I wanted to be able to cheese this boss that I'm talking like the final boss. I'm like, God damn, I want to just cheese this boss and get through it. And I'll send you the photo. Well, yeah, you don't want spoilers. Like,
no.
When we do the review and like you've beaten the game, I want to send you this photo. I mean, I can just tell you, like, this was on an early run against him or her or whatever it is. And I freaking like killed it, man. Like it had no health, but it hit me at the same time as I hit it. And then it's like, and it's like, you died. But I've taken the photo on my phone. I was going to punch the monitor. I'm like, are you kidding me? I killed this fucking thing. And that was an early run. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish I did that. I honestly spent I think I spent 2 hours trying to beat it. Like, it was fucking driving me nuts.
I mean, 2 hours is nothing compared to the pain that some people have against Souls bosses. So I think,
Yeah.
like, there's some people that just, like, again, I know you haven't played Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne and that, but there's some bosses in those games that people really struggle with.
Oh,
like,
really?
Really. Especially Bloodborne.
That was the most I ever spent on a Souls boss. Like, way more than SNO and stuff like that. Like, this was the most I've ever spent trying to beat a boss. Maybe it was 2.5 hours. I don't even know. Like, it was just because I tried it 3 different play sessions. Which I don't know if that's ever. SNO was the only other one that I had to stop and then pick it up the next day and beat it. I was like, friggin' hell, I don't even know how to beat this thing. Yeah, it's an awesome game. Need to put it down because there's other games to play. But what else have I been playing? So I guess the backstory here is I've been playing, or I played Lego DC Supervillains. The reason why I played this is because the Star Wars Lego game is coming out shortly. So it's a week or 2 away. And I'm like, why don't I actually go play one of these Lego games? I mean, yes, I love Star Wars as an IP, more so back in the day than now, but, I still love it. I don't think the game would be fundamentally different. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, and I already have this in my library for PS Plus, right? So I played this Lego DC Supervillains and I'm like, well, I'm not going to buy that Lego Star Wars game. I'm like, it's just, I don't know, it just didn't click with me, man. I played it a bit and I'm like, I don't know. It just
Have
didn't.
you played
fun.
any of the other Lego?
No, this
Star
was the
Wars
first
games?
one I ever played.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. I've heard about them and I've seen people play them on stream and stuff, but I've never played them myself. And they looked fun. But when I played, I was just, I don't know, I don't know. I almost question whether I like platformers sometimes or if I just like Mario. Do you know what I mean? Because I love Mario games, but it's like Ratchet and Clank. I was like, meh, it's okay. I'll probably give it 7 out of 10. But everyone loved that game, to death. But yeah, I was glad I played it because I would have bought that Star Wars game. And I think what I would have done is started playing it and I kind of regret buying this. So,
But I mean, for me, a lot of the love with those games comes from the property as well. So, for instance, I didn't actually like the Lego Batman games, even though I like Batman.
Okay, interesting.
But it's also just to me, one of my favorite Lego games is actually Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, just because the love that they put into the levels and recreating scenes from the films. And I love those films as much as people don't like the second or third and that. But that's interesting. By all accounts, then was it Skywalker Saga? Then the new one looks like it plays quite differently, because it's a lot more third person than the diorama kind of set scene stuff that I've seen of this. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just what the trailer's been shown.
Look, I think the thing is, it made me realize I'm not going to get it day one. I was going to get it day one. I'm not going to do that now. And maybe down the track, if it gets good reviews and it's cheaper, maybe I'll pick it up. I don't know. And the other thing is playing this game, it was running at 30 frames per second. I'm almost 100% sure. And I was like, damn, I'm not sure if I'd pick up the Star Wars game on the Switch because it'd definitely be running at 30. I don't know. I'll wait till the reviews come out and see how it lands. But
Man,
yeah.
you dodged a bullet with that generation that was just nothing but 30 360 PS3.
Yeah.
I know you played
I
some
played
games.
360,
I know
yeah.
you played some but basically all the Lego games that generation were all 30.
Well, it's like Bloodborne.
everything.
I was looking at Bloodborne because I was almost tempted to start playing Bloodborne. And then I'm like, it just looks so choppy, man. Especially going from other 60 frames per second games. Anyway, so I had to think about and looked at my library because this is part of the gaming resolutions as well. I'm trying not to buy as many games. I'm trying to play great games that I haven't played. And I was looking through, I'm like, Elden Ring was it's awesome, but it was almost exhausting in a way, right? The challenges and stuff. Not as bad as Dark Souls, but that feeling. And then I decided to pick up Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered on the PS5.
Cool.
And I'm loving this game, man. Hey, people, Marvel's Spider-Man's a great game.
What a hot take.
I know, but it's awesome. It's interesting because same folks with Ratchet Clank and everything like that. And it does have the same, there's something about these games where it's just so highly polished. You can see it's just like play tested to death, but it's just more fun. I don't know, man. Maybe I just didn't click with me as an IP, Ratchet and Clank. But yeah, I'm not the biggest Spider-Man fan. I like Spider-Man, but like I said, I'm not the biggest fan. But I have to say, like, as soon as you start playing the game, right? To me, like, one thing is they have, like Insomniac, supreme confidence in the web slinging in this game, right? And it's so much so that literally the game, and if you're watching the YouTube clip, you can see it in the B-roll, literally the game starts with web slinging. And I just feel like they perfected that mechanic, and it's such a core mechanic, and it's the classic Nintendo, get the character movement right, like perfect it, right? And like it's a bit wonky at times, but that, you know, it's that balance of it's wonky 1 or 2% of the time, but the rest it's awesome. And it's fucking cool, man. Just flying through the city, you know, Manhattan. And like literally all I've done in the game is the first part of the story where you're forced to. And as soon as I was like free after whatever it was, 15 minutes, I'm just like going around the city, you know, what is it in Assassin's Creed? Like finding the towers? I can't remember what that's called, but you know, that classic thing in an open world game of like finding all the towers to unlock the map. I don't know. I always do that in these games. I did that in Elden Ring as well. Like, I'm like, where can I get the map? Like, and now I'm like looking for these backpacks. I'm not even fucking playing the game. I'm just like flying around the place. It's awesome. So yeah, no, like very, very cool game. And it's also just like, it's fucking easy, right? Like even like I've actually died in the game, but it's not like hard. It's almost like you don't even need to think compared to like the Elden Rings of the world where it's like, you know, laborious combat at times. Like really, you can't just smash and mash the button. Whereas this is like, I die, I'm like, oh shit, I died. And then you just restart instantly and you're like right back. It's like there's infinite lives, you know what I mean? It's like, it feels like some person in the back room with save states. And just like, oh, but yeah, quick refresh on that save state right there. So
especially with the SSD of the
it's
PS5.
instant, man. Like that actually, like, fuck, I'm like taking it for granted, but I'm 100% taking it for granted because it actually is crazy that I'm just like, wow, okay. It just, everything's instantly loading. So yeah, like, man, it's so crazy. Someone was like in the comments going, don't you feel bad you're not in church right now? I think because it's like in the morning in America on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, what have you been playing, Swinny? Like, and have you played Elden Ring?
Well, I'm going to talk about some other stuff first. So,
Whoa. So you're going to leave me hanging?
So, you know, I mentioned, I think it was last week, how I've been watching lots of GeoGuessr stuff. You know, where you basically, we didn't even mention what it was last week, which is you get dropped in a random point, you have to find where you are. That's basically powered by Google Maps or Bing Maps or Google Earth, whatever, right? I've evolved past that. I've now stepped up to watching videos about straight line challenges. Have you ever heard of a straight line challenge?
No.
So straight line challenges where someone sets a course, and obviously they plan out the course, and they try to cross a country in a straight line without deviating more than like 50 meters from the line.
Okay.
And it's, look, when you think about it, you're like, oh, that's not that hard.
No, I think it's impossible.
Man, it's impossible, so hard. No, people have done it, but obviously it depends on how you plan it out. So, for instance, the channel I've been watching, which is GeoWizard, I've been watching attempts to cross Wales in a straight line. And the funny part is they plan it out so, okay, from Google Earth or whatever, you can only tell so much information based on how old the maps are or whatever, but they plan it so, okay, we're not gonna go through, so we have to cross a giant river or anything like that. But then they have to basically cross lots of farmers' fields. So the way they edit these videos is so awesome, where they're like stealthily, and they're in camo.
Wait, is this real life? Is this
real life. Yeah,
oh,
real
shit.
life.
I'm like, when you're saying all of this stuff, sorry, I know I must have missed it.
No, I didn't clarify.
I'm also replying to the church thing saying, yeah, I'll pray to Satan later tonight to make up for it.
Well, listen to me, don't listen to the chat. Anyway, I didn't clarify. That's on me. This is in real life.
Shit,
so
in real life. This is bullshit. People shouldn't do this shit.
So they're crossing
They should be shot.
farmers' fields, and they're like, "Oh, there's a tractor there," and they have to hide. And then they get up to a house where they
so
can't
bad,
can't get past, and
That's
like the
bad.
people are there, and they're trying to explain to people, "Hey, can we go through your property?
If
Climb over
someone
the
fucking
fence?"
explains to me that, I go, fuck yourself. I'll shoot you if I see you on my property.
And it's awesome to watch because
That's
the way
funny.
that he
That's
edits
funny.
and narrates, it's so much fun. But yeah, so I've been kind of, it reminds me of like when I was a kid. I used to live in the UK for a few years, and you'd explore the malls and like these broken down houses and stuff, and it just gave me that feeling back, which is great. But,
Well, we even did that with like the creek and everything, and tunnels and all this other shit. So
yeah. So in terms of what I've actually been playing, not watching this week.
yeah, that's next time I'm going to talk about the movies I've been watching. That's right.
No,
Drive to Survive season 4. I was very disappointed in that Netflix series.
I wanted to give you just an update on where my GeoGuessr kind of journey is taking.
Now
me.
we've gone totally off track, right? Can I just say something? So I'm a huge F1, MotoGP, AFL, like actually too many sports, but F1 has, had a massive high because of Drive to Survive, the Netflix series. So the 4 seasons just come out and it sucked. But the first 3 are awesome. But MotoGP are like, we've got to get in this game, right? And through Amazon Prime, they've filmed their whole documentary. Now, fucking ridiculous thing is you can't watch it in Australia for some reason. You can watch it in the US and UK only. Anyway, but the thing I'm so devastated about that I missed out on is when they released the series, right? And so it's MotoGP, a lot of international drivers, riders and everything like that. For some crazy editorial reason, they've actually dubbed all the riders and also put subtitles under their words, right?
Dubbed them.
Dubbed. So like Valentino Rossi, who, if you at all know anything about motorbikes, his thick Italian accent and everyone loves it, right? They've dubbed him with like some guy. It's like, hey, I'm Valentino Rossi. How? And
When's this Hercules Goes to New York?
Yeah. Instantly,
documentary form?
the whole internet just went nuts. It was like, what the fuck have they done to this documentary? It's like every comment is like, why did you dub this? It's like horrible. The documentary's not bad, but the dubbing is insane. Then one day later, they removed it. And I'm like, I've missed out on this moment to watch this horrible version.
Look, that stuff, people have archived that stuff.
I can't get it, dude. I can't get it anywhere. I'm like hunting for it. It's so...
Just give it a little bit of time and that stuff's going to be up on Daily Motion. And,
I'm looking forward to it because it's like, you got to understand, if, because you're not going to watch MotoGP Unlimited, right? It's people who have any interest in the sport. So they all know how people sound. So it's like... a Nintendo documentary. Imagine a really proper Netflix Nintendo documentary, and it's some like American guy dubbing over Shigeru Miyamoto. It's like, what are you guys doing? It's just horrible. So yeah, we're totally off course. What have you been playing, Swinny?
Okay, so I actually, this is no joke, right?
Yeah.
I actually went to start and play through this week of Dark Souls 3.
You fucking...
joke.
You are lucky you're in Melbourne. I would fucking
joke.
bash you right now. If we were doing this
joke.
podcast in person, I'd punch you right now. I would fucking punch you.
I legit actually had the desire. I'm like, man, I really want to do a Dark Souls 3 playthrough. I haven't done a playthrough in a while. My last one was co-op with Mike. And I've got it here. I've got it here, the Dark Souls 3 Apocalypse Edition, and I opened it up.
Oh my god.
Man, I'm going to start my Dark Souls 3 playthrough.
What?
I can't find the disc. I don't know where the disc is.
That's awesome.
Damn
That's awesome. It's probably in your Xbox One X or something.
It's not in my One X, but I've got my old Xbox One, the big massive box one, in a box somewhere, so I've got to go and find that to see if it's in there. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to check all my game cases. I don't have that many for Xbox One. I'm just hoping I haven't randomly put it in a 360 game case. Because you can see all the boxes behind me. That's going to take a long time to check. So
that's awesome.
So I thought, well, look, is there something else that could scratch that Souls-like itch?
Yeah,
I could play this week.
Let's think about that. What's a Souls-like game?
So I considered Bloodborne. You know, and I'm like,
you are
you know
sick.
what? I'm gonna wait a bit for that if they do a 60 FPS.
Yeah, you have to
thing.
wait now, I think.
I'm like, man, I still haven't played Sekiro properly. I'm like, maybe I'll do that. I'm like, I haven't played through Ashen yet.
Oh,
That's
you
a
haven't
game
played
I've always wanted to
Sekiro?
play.
I'm actually
No.
shocked about that.
So I'm like,
Okay.
Then I remembered this game called Elden Ring, and I'm like, maybe I should play Elden Ring this week.
So
So
did
I
you play
did.
it? Oh,
So I did.
there you go. There you go.
And I apologize to everybody that just listened through like 15 minutes of us talking about Elden Ring, because we'll talk a little bit more about it now. But
Oh,
yeah.
I'm more than happy to talk about
So-
Elden Ring.
so
it's the Elden
I-
Ring podcast now.
So I played some Elden Ring.
What did you think? How many? Like, wait, can I just get the lay of the land? So, how many hours are you in?
Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
No, but I want to know the context.
I'll answer your first question.
Okay. What do you think of it?
That's pretty good. It's
Pre-
pretty good.
Is it pretty good or is it pretty good?
Pretty good. All right. So
Okay.
Game Pass roundup. Let's talk about some Game Pass games.
No. Wait, what are you doing? Are you gonna come back to Elden Ring? You can't just move on. I'll fucking blast the whole show, man.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No. Look. All right. Let's talk about some Elden Ring again. Look. We talked about hot. You gave a hot take before about Spider-Man. I'm going to give a hot take now. This might just be one of the greatest games ever made.
Yeah,
I think
it's fucking good, man. It's
I
fucking
think
good
it's
game.
I think it's kind of, it's getting there. It's a bit of a good game. That old Elden Ring, I'm kind of glad I couldn't find my Dark Souls 3 disc now. Look, it's obviously it's amazing. I will say, just to clarify, I don't know exactly where I land in terms of how much I love it yet. It is just an absolutely phenomenal game.
But how long are you into it? Like, how many hours?
So I'm about 40 hours in.
Fuck off! What?
Yeah.
Wait, wait, what the fuck, man? Okay, so I finished the game 70 hours. I've been playing it since day one it came out, and you're already
Yeah.
40 hours. So what we were saying about you catching up and beating the game? Wait. Can I just ask quickly? Have you
Yeah.
beaten the game?
No, I have not.
Oh my
picked it up.
god! I was like,
I considered
that
making that,
was a
joke.
possibility.
I considered making that joke when you're like, I beat Elden Ring. I was like, can I work that joke? No. I'm joking too much here. No, but my actual tracker says like 50 hours, but I reckon a lot of that.
50
I say-
hours.
No, but I think a lot of that, like, I think I left it on like idle for like 5 hours, and there's probably like idle here and there.
Sure, I probably had the same. So like my
Yes.
70s, like, I don't know, like 65 or 60 or something.
And yeah, look, this 40 hours in a week.
That's crazy, dude.
They say hard in the paint. That's like hard in the ring.
That's full time, baby. Full time while you're doing a full time job.
Full time ring, hard in the ring.
I don't even know how you got time to play these other games that we're going to talk about. after
No.
that,
See, I didn't. I played those games
previously.
like last week. So,
okay.
But yeah. So Elden Ring, it still feels like I'm barely scratching the surface on the game. Like this game is just so like it's so massive, but like almost overwhelmingly so. Especially when you start seeing like how the map extends and everything. You're like, oh my god, this is almost too much at times. But look, I guess I'll because I do have a few things that I'm not sure on yet about the game. But to start off with, like obviously the positives, this game is absolutely gorgeous. It's like concept art. The game, it's crazy. Like there's certain parts of the first 3 Dark Souls and Bloodborne where there's like spots where you will look out and you on the horizon. It's an amazing skybox. This game is basically a skybox everywhere, like an amazing view, like the whole message system where it's a gorgeous view ahead. That's basically, you could put that message anywhere in Elden Ring and it would fit. It's that gorgeous, especially because of the giant Erd tree that's looking over and everything. It may not have the technical like cred of something like the Demon Souls remake, but it's got the art. It is so gorgeous. And because I'm very fortunate that I kind of just fell into the situation where I'm playing on an Xbox Series X with an LG C1 TV, whatever C1 I think.
Or G1?
No, it's definitely C1 or whatever.
Oh, you didn't go the better one. I thought you went for the top of the line, baby.
I'm fairly certain this was the top of the line.
Must be
when I got
G1 then. It must have been G1. But
No,
anyway,
it's
go
not
on.
G1. It's not G1.
Oh, okay.
which has variable refresh rate or VRR,
VRR,
and
baby.
which means when I'm playing it, other than when you when you spawn at a site of grace, like the bonfire equivalent, it's basically like when you're watching it, it's basically running.
Perception.
The perception it's running at 60 frames flawlessly. Which,
Well, it's not that it's running at 60 frames.
That's
but
what, no,
there's no
that's why
drops. There's no drops.
That's why I said when you're watching it, it's running at 60 frames, because of the refresh rate thing, which is amazing. Like it is like I haven't it when what you see to me is like okay, that's
Just
the most
smooth.
important thing. So it's absolutely phenomenal in that regard. Obviously, not everyone's going to have that experience if they don't have that TV.
Very few people do.
But fortunately, like it seems like they're patching in VR for the PlayStation 5 soon.
Yeah, I'm glad they're
so
doing
hopefully that means that more people will be able to get that experience.
Then that will be the best version, and then the idiots who care about that shit will be like, no, the PlayStation version is better because it's slightly more frames.
The music is great, and it's
also,
just I think just the overworld, the way they handle the overworld music is really good, because you'll just sometimes walk into a dark corner under a bridge and the music will like subside, and it gives you this like it starts to increase the how tense you are, because obviously music goes away, the mood's changing and everything. So I think it's really good the way they've done there. I love a lot of the new mechanics they've introduced, even simple things like that you don't hear many people talking about, the fact that when you're on the overworld, because they've got to cater for you being potentially away from sites of grace for a longer period of time than you would from a bonfire in Dark Souls, you can regain flasks by killing groups of enemies. Just things like that just really, really just speak to me. It's just genius moments of design that are so understated, but that just changes the whole way that you, not changes the whole way, but it just organically means that you're not having to travel back all the time to replenish if you play well enough on extended periods of time.
And it's an interesting counterpoint to Breath of the Wild, which kind of completely decentivizes you from taking on mobs, right? Because you do have like little treasure chests, but once you've completed them, there's a couple of things in Breath of the Wild. The more, and I don't know if you know about this, but the more enemies you defeat, the whole world scales up. So there's like there's an like internal counter in the whole game. So every time you're killing more and more mobs, you're actually making the whole game harder for yourself, right? And then the other part of it is you don't really get anything from it. And you degrade your weapons, right? So you could actually destroy some good weapons that you have, right? And I do love that like small touch of some of your flasks getting replenished a little bit, because then it changes the dynamic. It's like, well, I'm kind of running low on flasks here, but then, I'll take on these guys and I'll get some of them back, but then I might not. I might die, right?
Yeah, and because those groups of enemies generally aren't giving you much runes, which is the Souls equivalent, to kind of make it worthwhile.
It's Souls.
Yeah, it's Souls. But basically it's like, so the flasks are kind of, as you said, incentivize that.
Yeah.
And even look, it's a very light spoiler, right? The customizable flask, basically. I'm not.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that, man. I don't know how I could go back now.
You can mix and match different things to make basically like a custom buff flask, which is just a cool concept. And haven't found obviously everything that is the options there and stuff, but just those cool ideas that they're introducing that not many people talking about, or they, maybe they didn't want to talk about that one because it is a bit of a light spoiler. But obviously the way they implemented the horse or torrent, because it's not technically a horse, but whatever, it's a horse.
It's a horse.
But for me, the problem is I'm so used to clicking the left stick when you're riding a horse in a game to make them run, and then in this game you hop off.
You dismount.
So I've had to train myself so much, and it's still, even after 40 hours, I'm still like doing it, and it's because of Assassin's Creed, because of Witcher. I think Witcher's that control, but basically Assassin's Creed, it's like, oh man, But I actually remapped, the first thing I did in the game is I actually remapped the jump button.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you're just so accustomed to Dark Souls and everything?
Well, what I figured, I said, I'm going to remap it right away, because at the moment, by default, the jump is whatever the A or X button is confirm.
Cross.
And then cross, right? And then the Y or triangle is the new confirm, right? So yeah. And I mapped it the other way so it's closer to Dark Souls, just to see, okay, could I get used to this right away? And I'm so used to it now jumping with Y. So that's the first thing I did. But whatever.
One tip that I have, but I don't know if it's gonna work based on what you're saying, is I don't have torrent on the D-pad down. You know, like how you can have your flasks and then torrent to call. Or
Oh yeah, I don't have torrent on there either.
Oh, okay, so do you have it on like confirm, and then like
Pouch,
down?
the pouch.
Yeah, pouch.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. That's like
Yes.
to me. I feel like that's the way it should be, like by default.
Yeah.
That I actually was struggling with that, like in the first 5 hours or so. I was like, "Fuck, this is like annoying me," right? And I'm like thinking, "What can I do here?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is actually a much better system." That's one thing about the game, man. I was like using. I know you play like this normally, but I never play like this. But like crab grip, like actually using my. I don't know how you describe it, but it's essentially like bringing more of my fingers up onto the face of the controller while I'm moving the camera and moving touching multiple buttons. Because I just feel like in some of the boss fights, it just became like I had to do that to get better. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, fuck this game. It's forcing me to like play like a psycho person. You know what I mean? Like that. So, but yeah, like, what else about the game have you found? What surprised you the most?
Oh, well, I mean, I was going to talk about some stuff. You
Okay, yeah, go on.
question.
No, go on. No, go on. Go on.
I mean, look. In terms of what surprised, I don't know. I can't think of anything because it's kind of honestly the game is exactly what I was expecting.
Well-
So it's like nothing is thrown a curveball outside of the way they sometimes handle teasing you with a new area that you haven't been to yet.
Yeah.
In like almost like a Mario Odyssey style, where they're like, "Hey, you get to see this snippet,
Yeah.
and this is how crazy the world is, but
Yeah.
now you got to go back," you know. And the way it's almost like such a cool part of the way they've designed it. It makes you want to keep playing because you've seen what's up ahead. You've gotten a glimpse of what's up ahead, and you're like, "That looks so cool. I
What
need
is
to
this
get
shit?
there.
Yeah,
I need to get there, but
yeah.
it's probably like 50 hours away, but I
Yeah.
still want to get there."
I mean, just like before you jump into the other things that you wanted to say, like honestly, I think the thing that surprised me the most about the game, and it sounds like daft what I'm about to say, but man, they fucking like not only in my view lived up to the hype, which was insane. Like all three of us said, pretty much this is the most anticipated game for us, right? For me, it's probably equal to Breath of the Wild 2, but in a way, probably this one's more because it's like they haven't done an open world type game before, right? And I just feel like they lived up to it and did more. Like I've played through, beaten the game, and I've got more to do in the game, and I'm like, man, they fucking did it. Like I gotta tip my hat to them. It's like it actually does surprise me because I feel like everyone was almost primed for this game to be great, but always kind of anticipating it to not be great and then shit on the game hard, right? Like, Horizon's better or Breath of the Wild's better. Or I feel like everyone who's played it and is a genuine gamer, the worst that they're saying is like, it's not for me. But I've not really heard anyone truly with a brain say, nah, it's a bad game. You know, and that's a fucking insane achievement for all the things they're trying to balance in this game.
It's very telling that when you read the people like that hate on the game in comments, that even more than probably any other game, they just feel so baseless. They just feel so like grasping at straws. Now, I'm not saying criticism, I'm not saying general criticism, because this game can be criticized. I'm saying
I totally think
people
so.
that are just like, the world is empty.
Or it's not balanced or something like that.
You're like, the world is empty. There's parts you can say, okay, this stretch of area doesn't have anything special in it, but that stretch of area complements the fact that all the areas around it have so much stuff in it. So it's like, but
yeah, and just like before you move on, like that point, right? That's like idiots who go, "Oh, music needs to just be blaring and like bang, 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 bang," and you know, no dynamics. It's like if you listen to great albums from like the 60s and 70s, like Pink Floyd and things like that, like they bring it down and then you're like down with it. And then when there's a crescendo, you actually feel it because they've taken you low and then bring you back up. And 100%, it's very thoughtfully designed with Elden Ring of, you know, pacing the areas in certain ways. So you sort of almost get, oh no, I'm okay now. And then some giant comes out and attacks you and you're like, shit. Like I was kind of getting in my comfort zone there. So.
And there's a lot more I could say about stuff I love in the game, but I do want to leave a bit of stuff for when I've played a bit more and
Yeah.
when Mike is here as well, because I know Mike would probably like to talk about it because as he gets further into it. In terms of some stuff that maybe isn't in sitting in the love section, and this is stuff that it's still work in progress. So I don't know where I've fallen on all of this. First of all, one of my favorite parts in the Souls games is the fact that you discover a lot of the lore through the item text, and this has it, but it seems like they've cut down a lot of it. Like where there used to be 3 lines in an item description around something, there's like 1 line now, and it makes sense because there's more in this game now to have that stuff spread across, and you learn a lot more lore from the NPCs than you've ever learned in the other
Yes.
Souls games.
Yes, they've made that way
But
more obvious, even for a
yeah,
dummy
way
like
more.
me.
Yeah, and there's actual menu options for NPCs which they never had in other
Yeah.
games and stuff. Where you and there's an NPC that's flat out like the exposition NPC, you know.
Yeah.
But there is part of me that misses that is definitely a design change from the Souls games in regards to, and it's probably a better change for the majority of players, but for I guess the players that were maybe accustomed to like every single item I used to pick up and read, now I'm not doing that in Elden Ring as much, so because I just don't feel like I'm getting as much from it. And I talked about the world being overwhelming before, and that is it's a double-edged sword for me. It's beautiful and like in terms of like, okay, that's a vista and I've got to get there and everything. But there are times when, for instance, in Dark Souls 3, there's like a swampy area, right? Which is not everyone's favorite in Dark Souls 3, but whatever. But at no point did I say to myself when I was playing Dark Souls 3, I wish this swamp was 20 times bigger. So there's times when I feel that the scale hasn't necessarily made it a more enjoyable experience for me, but that is definitely the work in progress thing where I just don't know how I've fallen. Do I prefer everything being scaled up so much in terms of what I'm used to with the Souls games? Obviously it's an open world, but there's also there's ways to do open worlds where it's not as scaled up, and this game's so fucking massive.
Oh, yeah, it's so massive.
So that one I will come back to and just see whether or not I feel that is a boon or a downside for me in some areas. Obviously, each area of Elden Ring is going to have different. People are going to feel differently about different areas and stuff. So anyway, yeah. So it's Elden Ring. Apologies for bringing that back. I didn't.
No.
I potentially should have just segued straight into that rather than talking about bloody straight line challenges.
No, I think it's
so
fine.
everyone got their Elden Ring in one.
I know you wanted to save the surprise. It's too bad that Mike's not here, but yeah. Like I think I've said this before about Dark Souls because I just think it did so much, it created a new genre really. Its puzzle box design, like its whole world design and everything, and the notes that it has, like, when you get to Anolondo and like, it's just like, fuck, what? Like, huh? And I was playing it pretty blind. So I'm like, Jesus, what's going on with this game? Right. I think, it's hard to describe, but it's almost like, if you have a jazz album, it's like, it's a jazz album. That's a style. That's the genre. You can excel and go, this is a 10 out of 10 jazz album. And it's like hitting its straps and executing perfectly. Right. And I almost feel like that's a bit Dark Souls to me. With this, I don't think it's perfect. Whereas I probably almost like go, there's some shitty parts in Dark Souls, but it's pretty near perfect for me. Whereas with this, it's not perfect, but there's just so much shit in it, man. It's like a buffet. And it's like a buffet where you're like, holy shit, most of the buffet's 9.8 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like, or 10 out of 10 in some parts. So I just look at the totality of it. And it's like, how could you like criticize it in a way? Because it's giving you so much. It's just like, it's, and going back to that thing about it's trying to balance so much. I think that's like incredible how they've done that in this game where, I am a fan of how, like, going back to your point about the lore, like I actually played it, beat the game, and I'm like, I kind of like get it to a degree, right? Whereas I played Dark Souls, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck happened, right? I'm like, no fucking idea. I need to read some kind of like story thing on YouTube, right? So I feel like the way that they've balanced that out a bit, you can still get a lot out of it, obviously, because I think as you play the game more, you'll find that there's more, like hidden lore in the game. And also people haven't spoken about this that much, but there's like kind of like environmental lore. Like there's stuff that they've constructed in the game, the actual world itself, people who are like dead or strawn out, or just the way it's aged. It's like telling a story itself, just like the world and where it's at and everything like that.
Yeah, they started doing that a lot in like Dark Souls 3 and stuff, like where they really ratcheted up the environmental stuff.
Yeah.
And Bloodborne has so much of that as well. Like
Yeah.
Bloodborne's insane, that game, in its environmental design.
I think like honestly, because Dark Souls from not my love or enjoyability, but just from like the way it was constructed, I'm like, I feel like it's pretty hard to top in the genre. But I'd imagine only Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne are the only two contenders in my mind. That like, and based on what everyone sort of says about those games, where I'm like, maybe it would threaten Dark Souls, but then it's probably, I don't know how different it is to Dark Souls. But anyway, we're going off on a huge tangent. But no, I'm glad you played it, man. You fucking played it a lot. We might actually be able to review it in the next few weeks then, instead of a few months, as I was joking about.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, obviously I know how far I am in terms of where I'm at. Like, I just reached a really good milestone just before the show, actually.
Okay. We have to talk offline about it then.
Yeah, but in terms of how that means in the whole scope of things, I have no idea, because I kind of have an idea of how big the map is, but at the same time, I know that there's a lot of secrets.
Oh, yeah. And Mike said if Mike finishes, we're going to review it before Mike finishes. Don't worry about that. Yeah. If we waited for Skyrim for him to finish that to review it and the show was on back then, we'd still be waiting.
Well, do we want to cover some of the other
games?
games?
No, I think we skip that because we're already an hour. We thought the whole show would be about an hour.
Okay. All right. I didn't. Yeah, I can't see how long we were at. I'll push
we're literally over an hour, which is incredible.
Sounds good.
Let's jump into the news. So CD Projekt Red has given us a big update on the next installment of the Witcher series. And this time they're going epic. Nice little line there, Swinny. In a blog update, CDPR say the next game will kick off a new saga. They'll be moving on to the moving off from their proprietary Red Engine to Unreal Engine 5 as part of a multi-year strategy partnership with Epic Games. And they have confirmed that the next game will not be exclusive to Epic Game Store on PC. Can I just say on that before I throw to you, in general on this one, but I find it hilarious that was almost the key takeaway in everyone's post, apart from, hey, Witcher 4 is coming, as if we didn't know that it was basically just someone tweeted at them. It's like, oh, if this is going to be Epic exclusive, I'm not buying it, F off or whatever. And then their PR replied to that person and go, nope, it's not going to be exclusive. I'm like, how is this not in their original PR note? I know. This is massive. This is a huge sensitivity for people. So I just thought that was a bit weird, but you must be excited.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to get any news about the next Witcher. I know we're still waiting for the next gen versions, which are apparently due in this quarter or coming quarter, I should say.
Because that's PC as well, right? Because I've got Witcher on PC.
I believe so, but I don't know what.
Okay.
There's obviously a lot of mods out. There's a lot of mods out there. I think the big difference in those next gen ones you're going to see are obviously on the consoles.
I'm not a big fan of mods. Sorry.
Yeah,
I was 20 years ago with Quake, but not now.
So yeah, this is a bit of a swan song then for this engine, which has done them well. Obviously, no. Look, the thing is, right, it's done them well because they've been using it since Witcher 2, right?
Sure.
So they've basically, Witcher 2, Witcher 3, and obviously Cyberpunk. And now Cyberpunk, obviously they had a lot of issues, and I think this makes so much sense for them to do it. It means that they can focus on building the worlds and focusing on the game development as opposed to the actual engine development, and having to kind of fine tune that, and I guess offloading a lot of the support because they've specifically said the Epic will be assisting in the support as they do with obviously being a partner, an Epic partner. I think this is a great move, but yeah, it's almost like end of an era for CD Projekt Red in terms of the Red Engine. And to clarify, they did say that Cyberpunk expansion that they're working on and everything will continue to use that engine.
Of course, they're
changing on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think this is a great move.
Yeah, no, I think the engine thing, people overplay that. I think if you listen to a lot of devs talk about engines, 99% of them will say the best engine to use is the last one that you used. But having said that, you know, the whole industry is moving to homogenization with these engines because, you know, Epic have way more resourcing than CDPR, and they're a very small studio. So to maintain their own engine plus make a game as big as I'd imagine The Witcher 4 will be, and I'm sure like they're going to look at a game like Elden Ring and go, okay, like we took kind of Skyrim to a degree as a bit of a benchmark of like, okay, we want to excel and be better than this and not have boring fetch quests and make every side quest interesting. Like, I feel like the energy of that studio will be like, all right, Elden Ring, we're going to do something different, better than you, right? Which is great. I love that. Competition's awesome. And I think overall, like, they'll have teething issues, obviously, with Unreal Engine 5, but I think in the long run, it'll be much better for that studio because then they can just focus on what they're good at rather than worrying about an engine. And, you know, they had so many issues with the last gen of consoles with streaming, like in data, like with their engine, whereas Unreal Engine does that so much smarter than what they were doing. So, and I did confirm the Witcher 3 next gen edition will have a standalone purchase, it's kind of like a new version of it for PC, series and PS5, and then free upgrades for those who have it on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. So that's cool. Yeah. So I do want to come back to this game. I played it only a little bit, and I'm like, well, I feel like I might as well just wait for the next gen update then, and I'll have ray tracing and faster loading and everything like that. So
yeah, and this also came with a teaser image, which has kind of set a lot of people, you know, talking about what is this actually going to be, because they specifically said, as you mentioned, kicking off a new saga. You know, Witcher 3 very much in a lot of ways was, you know, wrapping up Geralt's story, you know, and obviously I won't get into spoiler territory, but it makes sense that this is focused on a different, I guess,
main protagonist, maybe.
And, you know, potentially different, even like setting in the timeline, whether or not it's earlier than the games, whether or not it runs alongside the events of the books, which take place before the games or afterwards. But the teaser image that they showed was actually of a cat-like medallion, basically like a lynx medallion. And in the Witcher games, for anyone who doesn't know, there's different schools of witches. So you've got, you know, School of the Wolf, School of the Bear, and all this stuff. And the lynx, there's no School of the Lynx. But what CD Projekt Red did in the games, they actually introduced new schools that didn't exist in the books. So it sounds like that they're setting this in a, you know, potentially around a brand new school, which means potentially it won't even be starring Ciri as the main protagonist, which a lot of people would have expected after Witcher 3, because you do play as Ciri throughout that as well in certain segments.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so basically she, like, with that in mind, people are like, well, it makes sense for her to continue on. But as a character, Ciri is so ridiculously overpowered that it kind of would have been a bit awkward to in my opinion, to star her as a main protagonist and try to explain why she's not like the most powerful person around, you know?
It'd have to be that annoying kind of Metroidvania trope of like, but she's now got a, you know, curse, so she's not quite as powerful. I hate that shit.
To me, it makes sense that they almost, whether or not they kind of try to, you know, build a new protagonist off of an existing character that they introduced, or a new one, who knows? But it is an interesting place to be. They can almost do exactly anything they want in that regard because they're not even tied to Geralt anymore.
It's funny with that because you and I like that stuff, but we're very against the grain. I think most people hate that shit when there's a new main character, you know what I mean? Like, it was never a criticism for me with Star Wars, the new sequel trilogy. Like, I'm fine. Like, okay, great, new protagonist and everything. I'm like, cool with it. Like, they have to be good, right? So, but yeah, okay, interesting. Well, this is 2026 though. This game.
Yeah, the good thing is they haven't called the series is not called the Geralt. You know, like a Witcher is a generic term, so they've got a good caveat there in regards to taking it in new directions.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, no, this will be your most anticipated game of 2026. I'm guessing.
Potentially, yeah.
Could actually be going up against something like Elder Scrolls 6, which would be that'd be amazing.
Who knows? Maybe 2026 will be the year of Elix 3.
True. So, and then the other one is
competition.
Oh, one thing I did find out about Elden Ring, not that we could ever move off it, is that I didn't realize that they made Sekiro and Elden Ring simultaneously,
Yeah, it makes sense.
which makes perfect sense. I was like, okay, that's interesting about their cycles. So are they going like 2 games at the same time, overlapping or something? So
Well, Bloodborne and Dark Souls 2 did, and
yeah, but
kind
that
of
was
like,
different directors though. This was like the same director. for
yeah,
2
okay,
games.
yeah, but I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, they've had dual development before.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, no, they've been doing that for a long time, but it was more like having the same director that I thought was interesting. All right, let's move on to the next story. So this was as part of the Future Game Show Spring Showcase, which was a thing this week. Here's a couple of highlights from the show. So first is Lego Bricktales, a new diorama-style puzzle game from the Bridge Constructor devs, Clockstone Studio. So it's only confirmed for PC so far, no release date. They have 5. The puzzle game is set across 5 dioramas, which they very strongly all the way through keep on calling them biomes. I think this word biome is taking over like an insane degree.
they should be called Biodome. Bring Pauly Shore back.
And like if you watch the trailer, and I do recommend anyone who's interested in gaming to go check this trailer out. It's quite cool actually. They have a like a physics based. Is it puzzle or is it like almost like a DIY builder? It's probably not super clear at this stage, is it?
No, that's so that basically you're solving puzzles and quests, but a lot of it by building devices, vehicles to solve it. So the trailer at the moment, on anyone watching on YouTube, shows you building a vehicle
Like
that
a
has
makeshift helicopter.
yeah,
kind of
like
thing,
a helicopter to be able to get up to the person to find them or whatever. So it's very much in the vein of your Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Yeah, that classic game.
Oh, that's an awesome game. It's just a shame that it's not the game people wanted. That's
Yeah.
the only thing. But the actual building part is awesome, and you've seen the influence that's had in other games, like, for instance, Besiege, a game that's I should have played already on Xbox Game Pass as part of my resolution, but that's like taking it further in more like sophisticated direction. And then you got the other way, the simplified, like Kingdom Hearts Gummy Ship Builder, where you're placing blocks, you're placing propeller here, a cannon there. So just think of that, where you're essentially building these vehicles from Lego pieces, almost in the style of when you look at a Lego manual that you build.
Yeah, it does look like that. Yeah, it looks very cool that way.
It looks really cool, but and I've seen your note here. It's also visually reminiscent of the Lego Builder's Journey, which is not made by these people or published by Thunderclap Studios. We didn't mention that, but it still has that like almost like blank void of space behind them to kind of really put the focus on the actual like the set pieces and the Lego minifigs and everything. So
Yeah. And I guess where
it's
I was coming from, it's almost like it has that kind of, style to it. Like it's almost like in a really stupid way, what I'm about to say, these games look like the most realistic games I've ever seen. Like if you look at the graphics, I'm like, damn, it looks super real, but it looks surreal or ultra real or something. Like just the way it's like perfectly rendered, even with like noise effects and stuff. Just look at it, I'm like, wow, this looks really crazy. This could be a really really like a cracker of a game, I reckon. Like it could be a really zen-like, chill out kind of game.
Well, people love the Bridge Constructor games.
Oh yeah, how many like
so-
themed games do they have? It feels like
Well, they've done Portal, they've done Walking Dead.
yeah, heaps, man. Yeah.
And this year, I think they're a great studio to take on something like this. So I'm looking forward to this. I still need to try out the Builder's Journey, but that game was much more of a slower paced kind of like, you said zen-like. That game was even
Yes.
zen-like or something like this. That was definitely almost like an artistic game in many ways.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I wanted to bring it up because it feels very experimental, that game.
Yeah.
It's like they had a direction of like, we could build another tranche of Lego games. This is kind of like what we're thinking of. Let's put something out there, test it, see if it resonates. And it definitely does. But I mean, it's Lego as well. People love the shit out of Lego. So I went to the Lego store today. I'm like, man, people love this fucking brand so much. It might be one of the most beloved brands in the world. Like, you know what? If someone says, what's the most loved brand? And they'll go, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Lego. I honestly don't think someone could top that.
And you know what's funny? They've done that all while still being so ridiculously overpriced. Like Lego's so expensive, but people love it. And it's like you never hear people like, not that there's much discourse, like in the general, like I'm on Reddit, I'm going to see conversations about the price of Lego. We
Yeah.
find it outside the Lego subreddits, which I've never been to. Mike's probably a big fan of those.
He's probably an admin. But
If anyone doesn't know, Mike has built a PC case out of Lego before that.
multiple times. That's the
Multiple
crazy
times.
thing. And it's
Still
it's been on the
waiting for
front
that
page
video,
of Reddit.
Mike.
He's freaking
Still
thing.
waiting for that video, Mike.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that's the brand value, man. Like how much you're in marketing, their brand, just Lego, that would like how many billions would that be worth? Just the brand itself.
It's crazy to me. So I was babysitting pretty recently, and my nephew, obviously, all kids love Lego, but they've got lots of Lego, and they've got Lego that I was playing with when I was their age, because it's been like
that's cool.
passed down to them,
and it survives.
Yeah, it survives, and I'm like, oh man, that's a piece of the pirate ship I got when I was 8 years old. It's
That's
just
cool.
crazy. But I'm just sitting there playing, and I'm thinking, man, like, I'm not going to dox myself, but that's over 30, or maybe 30, who knows? And like, it's 30 years ago, and it's still like, it's obviously Lego's expanded in other areas and stuff way more since then, but it's still the core thing of you're sitting there building things out of these Lego pieces are still, the magic is still there after so long. And obviously it was there well before, I was a kid. I don't know how long Lego's been around, but
yeah, it's like the 60s or 70s or something like that.
it's-
But it did dip actually. Like there was a period of time it dipped, and then it's just taken off again. Like when it went back to its core. I think the only thing that I would say about Lego is I always still prefer when you just have a bunch of blocks rather than like Lego is very kit based now. Like it's very much like this is what you must build, and I find that not very creative. And it's kind of a bit bizarre because their movies themselves criticize that, and that it should be about creativity, but yet like really they push the kits like crazy. Like it's hard to just buy buckets of bricks, and that shit's expensive, man. That's when you really notice how expensive Lego is. When you just try to get a lot of Lego, and you're like, wow, this is going to be hundreds of dollars to get lots of Legos. But yeah, look, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. We don't know when this game's coming out, but I'm sure it's going to be on PS5 and Xbox Series and all that kind of stuff. I know they've only said PC so far.
Look, I think even if they scale down the visuals a bit, it makes sense for this to be a Switch game.
No, definitely. So another surprise from the Future Games show was the delightful trailer of Paper Mario style, hint, hint, RPG, the Outbound Ghost. So developed by Conradical Games and due out for 2022 on all platforms. Does that include Switch?
Switch
It does
includes
include
PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X.
Why don't you take this away, because you are the biggest Paper Mario fan. What is the genre that you're trying to coin? Let's try to build this up.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to say it. So these are turn-based RPGs that are all based around reactions, timing, on defending, on attacking. So I call them reaction RPGs.
Is it reaction or react RPGs?
Reaction RPGs.
Reaction
it also
RPGs.
sounds like it's a play on action RPG. Even though they're not action RPGs,
I
like the term.
I actually like that more. Yeah, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Reaction. Okay. good,
Reaction
good.
RPGs. So this game has actually been in production for a few years, but it's normally if I'll see something, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that from ages ago. Like I had no idea this game existed. When I saw this show, I'm like, oh my god, this is a new announcement. But no, this has been in development for a while. But as part of the Future Games show, with its new trailer and its new publisher, which I'll get to in a second, the Outbound Ghost is like, man, this has got on my radar so much. So this was actually successfully kickstarted mid last year. And that obviously brought a lot of development support for them to, work on it. And it's seen massive improvements over the last 6 months. So there's a really cool video that is on the screen at the moment. Obviously can't hear it, where one of the main developers actually talks about what they've been able to do because of not only Kickstarter, but also the fact that they're now being published by Digerati. And I actually like quite a lot of Digerati games. So I talked a lot about Underhero on the show. So that's published by Digerati, as well as Letterquest and Slain, games I quite like. And they're very prolific. So they've developed a lot of games, at least on the Xbox platform, God knows on probably way more on PC and other platforms as well. But I absolutely love the look of this. As Integot was saying, I love Paper Mario, especially Thousand Year Door, but Bug Fables is one of my favorite games of this style that I played. I think
One of
early
your
last
favorite
year.
reaction RPGs?
It is. I think it won the category last year for our big year in awards special. But Bug Fables kind of set the standard for what a Paper Mario style game or like inspired game could be, and this looks like it's going in the same direction. Now, interestingly, this game originally didn't have turn-based combat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm not familiar exactly how this game was meant to play previously, but the developer in the video is actually talking about the fact that it's not wasn't planned to have it, not because he didn't think it would fit, but just because didn't have the budget and the support to be able to do it. And with them being published by Gujarati, they're very hands-on apparently. So they actually helped overhaul the entire UI, the dialogue systems, and being able to provide the support for the turn-based battles, which is what honestly you would expect with these reaction-based timings from a Paper Mario style game. And what's cool is they've actually got a system similar to Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler, where they've got Aether points that basically you can choose to almost sit out a turn, take less damage, and you get an extra point that then goes towards a stronger attack the next turn. So it's kind of about that risk reward. Okay, I'm going to sit back and then attack harder the next turn and things like that. And you can, for instance, craft things. What are they called? They're called aspects from materials, and they're basically like badges in Paper Mario. And your party members are basically, you can see one on the screen at the moment for anyone watching, they're figments. So they're different parts of, the main character's personality. That like one's a tank and one's, like a healer and stuff like that. So it's really interesting the way they've redesigned this, because obviously it wasn't a turn-based battle. They've had to say, okay, well, how are we going to do party members? And they've probably, this is my assumption, pivoted and gone in that interesting direction because it's easy to not have to rework the entire plot around.
Yeah.
So it's really insightful, the video. If anyone wants to check it out, it's on Conradical Games channel about how the 6 months of development have gone. So it's really, really cool. But yeah, I'm pumped for this game. These kind of games, these reaction RPGs they can go either way for me. So last year, I played Citizens of Space, where I felt it was in the wrong end of that spectrum, and the fact that those attacks take too long. I played through recently, what was it, Y2K, the postmodern RPG, which I hated and is probably the worst example of that style. And then you got Bug Fables, and you've got as much as I crapped on parts of Echo Generation, the battle part, the timing based attacks and stuff was one of the best parts of that game. So there's from what I've seen in the footage, it looks like they've kept those attacks really nice, quick, and easy to perform, or at least, simple to perform, which is what you want in these games. You don't want anything crazy like Citizen Space, where there's like 100 different ways you could do a reaction-based thing as part of an attack, and they take too long and everything. But yeah, look, I don't know. I know you've obviously played Paper Mario: The Origami King, and I know that's very different these days than what maybe the older Paper Mario games, but I don't know if this looks interesting to you or not, integot.
I think, my biggest problem is, and I've just come to terms with the reality, is like between family, and then other interests. Like I know I've been saying it a lot more recently, but I've only got time for things that are just like absolutely blow me away. Like the Elden Rings of the world, and if I look at my backlog of games that I can play that I haven't played. Like, there's some massive games, like God of War, like the new God of War, right? I'm like, I kind of want to play that before Ragnarok comes out. Because now that we're doing the podcast and everything, it feels more like, it feels good to play the games when they come out, Like,
so you want to watch the Marvel movies, not the Aronofskys.
I like that. Yes, like the long answer there, but the short answer version is no, I will not be playing this game because I haven't played Thousand Year Door. I need to play that before I play a game like this, in my opinion. Given
That's fair enough.
the hype that has. To be honest, I want to play Paper Mario.
I just wanted to give you a chance to say something.
Oh, no, I don't need to say anything.
I wasn't expecting you to say, I'm going to buy this day one.
To be honest, I actually play Paper Mario on the 64 version that's on the Switch, right? Because that's now with the emulator being improved, it's actually a pretty good way to play it. So I'm much more likely to play that because I haven't played that. So
Screw that game. Play Bug Fables instead.
fair enough. It's a
just
free.
just make sure you got 40 hours spares. Not a short game.
Yeah, I don't do that. I don't do that. What do you think? Dark Souls 3 or Bug Fables?
It's like Dark Souls 2.
No, I'm skipping that. I'll never play that.
Oh shit.
You know, I actually, dude, okay, can I tell you a quick story and then we'll jump into the one min? I legit was going to start playing Dark Souls 2, right? I grabbed it. I actually had it out, similar to what you did, right? And I had it, and I've got the trilogy on PS4, so I pulled it out, and then I go, you know what? I'm never going to fucking play this game to piss off Swinny. Because I'm like, I'll play all the other games. I'll play Sekiro, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and I'm always going to say, and you know this, I'm pulling back the curtain here, and I'm always going to say, but Dark Souls 2 is not a real Dark Souls game, so that's why I'm never going to play it, you know.
It's the most ridiculous
Miyazaki
statement ever.
didn't make it, so come on. It's fake. It's the Mario 2. It's the Super Mario 2 of Dark Souls.
Mario 2, in my opinion, is probably better than number 3, but that's fine.
Fuck off! That is like one of the fucking worst takes you've ever had. Super Mario
Okay, all
Brothers
right.
2.
Let me rephrase that. I said that in a poor way.
Holy shit.
I said that in a poor way.
Yes.
I probably like it more than number 3.
Look,
it's not better. I like it more.
That's that is a purely subjective thing.
Okay.
Okay. I can abide by the dude.
I know. I thought, like when I said it, I'm like, okay, that's
Now,
even I don't believe that.
I will clip that
bullshit.
and I will upload that on our channel. Just purely you saying Super Mario 2 is better than Super Mario 3.
Just also clarifying that all my opinions of Mario 2 and 3 are all based on the Super Mario All Stars versions. So
that's also interesting. Yeah. All right, let's jump in. This has been an incredibly long show for two people. But let's end. No news. All right,
no, I didn't even get to talk about Paradise Killer.
We have to skip things. All right, let's get into your segment, which is one min for the swin, where we wrap up the news. We want to cover these stories, but we don't have a lot to say about them. So, Swinny, whenever you're ready, I will bring it up.
I thought you were going to do it again this week.
No. You're doing it. I'm not doing it.
Isn't that the new ritual when Mike's not here?
No. Well, the show's not going to go on if he's not here. So whenever you're ready, it's up to you.
Adventure title Deliver Us the Moon is getting a sequel called Deliver Us Mars. A 4v1 multiplayer Ghostbusters game has been announced called Spirits Unleashed. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League has been delayed to 2023. EA's first PGA Tour game since 2015 is also seen a delay till next year. Wreckfest is coming to Nintendo Switch in June, and PS5 launch title Godfall is coming to PC and Xbox on April 7th. Reports indicate that Sony may reveal their new PlayStation subscription service next week. Rockstar are adding a new paid subscription pass to GTA Online called GTA Plus. PlayStation have acquired Jade Raymond's Haven Studios. Portal creator Kim Swift is heading up a new cloud game division at Xbox, and Mike Frazzini has stepped down as head of Amazon Game Studios. The Switch has received an update that adds game folders and Bluetooth audio improvements. Netflix have announced Tekken Bloodlines, a new animated series focused on Jin Kazama. Heart Machine are teasing a big announcement, Hyperlife Drifter's 6th anniversary next week, and Dragon Quest creator Yuji Horii has received the Lifetime Achievement Award at GDC.
You actually had like a lot of time, even though you were like screwing it up a lot. That was interesting.
I know. When I first started doing one min, I was very much like, I'm not gonna do what Mike did and speak as fast as I can. I'm gonna speak fast, but not that try as fast. I've gradually gone, I gotta speak as fast as I can, you know.
Yeah. I like to criticize Mike a lot, but that's a smart move. Just go as hard as you can from the start, because you never know when you need the time up your sleeve. Yeah. So.
Actually, that the fact that we were going to cover Chrono Trigger, it was that last thing about the Dragon Quest was going to feed nicely into that. But that's fine.
It would have been a nice segue, good. Mike.
Yeah, there's some interesting news this week. Nothing we would put a segment about. But
yeah, it's like Ghostbusters. When I saw that announced, it's like maybe 3 years too late, 2 years too late. You know what I mean?
It's from the devs of Friday 13th and Predator Hunting Grounds, so that's kind of their forte, I guess.
Yeah. Suicide Squad, I was like happy that it's been delayed, because I'm actually really looking forward to that game. And I feel like, if anything as well, like give it more time and get it out of this year. Like this year is like ridiculous. Like if you've got a 10-pole game, I feel like just give it more time in the oven. Like there's no downside to that. Although Ragnarok might get delayed. I feel like that's almost like very likely to get delayed as well.
And also, I mean, Gotham is it Gotham Knights?
Yeah.
The obviously it's not made by Rocksteady, but the other Asylum style game, although it's more like a co-op thing.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's
They
coming out
it
late this
gives
year. Yeah.
it gives that game more space as well, because then it's not going to be immediately compared to anything around what Rocksteady does. But yeah, Haven Studios, they're already bought by Sony. That's
Very
kind
weird.
of a wild move, you know.
Yeah, I don't know what Sony's doing. They're like almost panicking. It's crazy. It's all the opposite. They didn't obviously watch my presentation, my brilliant presentation.
I know.
And actually, I think Xbox are doing xCloud through Edge on the Steam Deck. I think that they're like setting that up now, which is going to be interesting. And yeah, there's been a lot of news, like the game folders, but in a shitty way on the Switch.
Yeah, I saw that.
know.
That seems
It's annoying.
such a Nintendo way of doing things.
But you know what? I'm actually all for it in the sense that I love how quick the Switch is. Like, you just turn it on and play the games, right? That's the thing that drove me most crazy about the Wii U. Like, actually.
Just quick isn't what I'd call the eShop. I wish they'd do something.
No, the
like
eShop's horrible. Like, they need to have more of those ideas. The eShop is, like, ridiculous. Like, you genuinely cannot navigate that goddamn thing.
I wish I could just buy everything through Decker deals, and it just like it links up to my account.
No, you
know.
can now in Australia. They've
can?
only just changed that because every one of those links to the actual Nintendo store in Australia now, and you can
maybe I'll check
purchase
that out.
online, like on the desktop.
I'm really keen on. I really like the look of Tekken Bloodlines. So I'm a massive Tekken 3 fan, and it feels like it's really, although it's got Leroy from Tekken 7 in it, it's really looks like they're feeding off the Tekken 3 vibe because it's got the same costume that Jin Kazama wears in that. So, and it looks, I really like the 3D art they've done there. So
Aren't we also behind? Isn't there another video game property that just came out like this week or last week to video or streaming services or? It just feels like there's movies and TV shows coming out like every week now that were video games.
I know it was meant to be something Resident Evil related on Netflix, but I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Or
Is
if
that
it's
out?
Yet. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like I'm so behind now.
But Resident Evil's had so many movies,
Yes.
animated movies, and 3D movies. Like it's, I'm not very interested in that stuff. But yeah, some cool little tidbits there, including one. I guess if we're going to wrap up, one that I'm looking forward to next week.
Well, before you do, like the other ones, like Spartacus, if that happens with the PlayStation, I don't know. I'm not super enthused like everyone else is. I feel like it's just going to be a more expensive PlayStation Plus.
I'm really excited if that gives me a good opportunity to play some PS3 games that I can't otherwise play.
Dude, but I don't reckon. Like, I know everyone thinks. Look. I'll say it like this: the only way that I'll go, wow, that was cool, if they come out with similar to like Nintendo, a very like decent enough emulator, and you can go back and play PS1 games, PS2 games, PS3 games on your console. But I don't think they're going to be doing that. I think they're going to be streaming it like they've already done.
That's why
PS4.
I said if they have a way of me playing PS3 games in a good way, I'll be excited for that.
But the weird thing is that's not available in Australia today. Whereas you can do that today in the US with PS Now.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
I'm excited if it gives me a way. I
So
don't know if it will.
you'd be okay with streaming the games.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking if they give me another way. I don't know. I'm just saying if there is a way, because there's different. This is so rumor riddled.
Yes, it is. It is. That's why we don't really cover it.
Yeah. So just because and look, there's some PS2 games I definitely like to play as well, but fortunately I don't have my PS2 anymore. But at least I've experienced a lot of those games.
Yeah.
Whereas PS3 is like the big dark spot.
That's true.
In my
And then
gaming history.
Rockstar and Take-Two are totally becoming EA, like the new generation of EA with this GTA Plus subscription. It's how much money do they want? It makes so much money with GTA. It's incredible.
If there's people that absolutely love GTA Online and are excited for that news, I'm then fine. I'm happy for you. But that just seems like the most Take-Two thing ever.
I know.
They're
the new bad guys, right? They're the heel of the industry. They have to be. Like, look at what they did to the trilogy. It's like a mockery of and it's not fixed. I don't give a shit when anyone says it's not fixed. Like, yeah, I just can't believe they've gotten away with that as well. It's unbelievable. Anyway, all right, let's wrap up the show. A very surprisingly long show. Next week, you're excited, Swinny?
Yeah, very So I whizzed past it in the 1 Min For The Swin, so don't. I'm sure you probably didn't hear it.
Oh, I didn't.
But Heart
Actually.
Machine's announcement, they've teased something, I think, as part of with G4 TV for
G4
Hyperlight
TV.
Drifters.
So they want to bury the news, or
What are you laughing about?
no one's watching G4 TV?
I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
go
that's part of something they're doing with them.
Okay.
Like, you don't have to shit on it.
I'm shitting on G4.
As
but yeah.
part of Hyperlight Drifters, hey, Austin Creed's involved with them.
Oh,
They'll never
dude,
show
I
it.
like what's his name, the completionist. I like a lot of people on there. I don't like G4 though.
Yeah, so as part of their 6th anniversary of Hyperlight Drifter, they've teased a big announcement. So I'm hoping it is a sequel, legitimately, because I love Hyperlight Drifter. It's one of the coolest games I've ever played in terms of like cool stylistic. I do need to obviously play Solar Ash. It's only on PlayStation at the moment, so I might have to pick it up on PS5 at some point. But I'm just excited about that news, so that'll obviously be something we cover next week. And
I'm predicting they're gonna shadow drop the game. Hyperlight Drifter 2.
I mean, they literally just released a game, so
Wait, no, but is that did they
like
make
a
that?
few months in the last couple of months.
I didn't
Solar
think
Ash
they
is-
made that. I thought they published it.
No,
Did they make
Solar
it?
Ash- Yeah, Solar Ash.
Okay,
is
I'll
made
take that
by,
back
yeah. I mean, when I say just released, it's like in the last 2 months.
I don't know why I
or
thought it
3
was the
months.
same deal like Yacht Club Gaming.
No, so that was Heart Machine made Solar Ash. So
Oh, okay, I'll take it back then. I thought it was
but
just the
it's-
Annapurna thing.
to me, it's like makes sense. This, like if they're maybe they were working on it, but okay, it's at the point where they can announce it. Because it's already on all the platforms and stuff. So, and I've just put it in here. I haven't checked with anyone because I looked at last year. I said, what did we do last year around this time? And last year, other than a segment about Peter Dutton, which putting his mug on our thumbnail probably gave us the worst views for our podcast ever. Bloody Peter Dutton.
awesome.
It's pretty funny. We also had a check-in about how our gaming resolutions go, our quarterly review. Now, I don't know if we need to do a full segment about it because we may want to do Chrono Trigger, but
Yeah.
maybe as part of where we catch up, we can ask each other how we're actually going as part of
That's a
next
good
week's.
one if we have all three of us because you don't have to prep that much.
Yeah, assuming Mike will be here next week and he doesn't forget he's got some trip to some other random place next week. that he
And
doesn't
hey,
remember.
I'll be down in Melbourne soon, so we actually need to figure out what we're doing if we want to do the show and how we're going to do that. Like, I don't
Let's
know.
not let's not promise anything on the show before we actually decide.
It's true. We make too many promises. All right. With that said, goodbye.
See you later.